It's these two guys.
These two guys. It's these two guys.
Hey there, welcome back. This is Larry Richardson.
And I'm George Henry, and we are
These Two Guys.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into a difficult but important story that has rocked the city of Florence and the Oregon Coast Military Museum. A case involving allegations of sexual child abuse, board controversy, and a community that is requesting or demanding accountability.
And we know that the story has gone past the borders of Oregon. Folks in Seattle have responded to it and areas beyond. And so we don't even know how far reaching this is, but we thought it was an important story. We've often talked about how, we like to keep it light, but this was just something that was just too important to pass up. And the community is reeling over it. And a lot of the folks, are just having a hard time grasping how all this came about and why it is still in the news today. And here is the first part of it. The story was in KPTV out of Portland, and the news anchor and host there had this story for us.
We're learning the director of the Oregon Coast Military Museum is facing 4 felony counts of sexual abuse.
A grand jury has indicted Jeffrey Cannon on those charges. We're working to confirm the details about the case, but court documents indicate that Cannon has been ordered to have no contact with any person under the age of 18 as part of his pretrial release agreement. In a social media post, the museum called the arrest a great shock, asking the public to, quote, withhold judgment. Cannon is due back in court on October 15th. The museum continues to operate every day from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we'll continue to follow this story closely and bring you updates as new information becomes available.
So this all started, it all started last year or farther back than that. But we were first made aware of it when a search was made, a search warrant involving the Department of Justice and the Florence Police Department went and raided a couple homes and even went by the Oregon Coast Military Museum and served a search warrant there. This involves a director of the Oregon Coast Military Museum by the name of Jeffrey Adam Cannon. He's 27 years old. It also involves a minor female who was 15 at the time when this all began. And geez, I don't know. It's
And we definitely won't share her name to protect her.
We're definitely not sharing her name. Although her name is out in our community, it's been shared by several people and several entities out there. Everyone knows the mother's name. We will refer to the mother's name, but we will not refer to the juvenile's name. And Larry, we first started following this at the radio station, and we're given information, talking to the police department, trying to find out what was going on. At first, was kind of hush-hush because the police couldn't really speak about what was going on until the district attorney got the information from Lane County. Once the district attorney got the information and made formal charges, then the police were able to put out a press release, which was 3 to 4 weeks after the initial thing began.
So, I only became aware of it. I saw the news article. I had heard it was a different location when it first came to me. And it was something that kind of hit me too, because it's not close to home. It's at home at this point in time. It's at home. So, I started looking a little bit more into it myself and was pretty shocked at what I'm hearing and what I've seen. And today was just one of those days where I learned a lot more about it, talking to the people on the boots on the ground.
You're going to hear some pretty unbelievable things. We have some audio, we have some video of some of the things that were presented from a meeting of the board that was not an official board meeting, but the board members were present and were discussing some of the things that were going on there. Now, it was July 10th when Jeffrey Cannon was arrested. Police arrived at the Oregon Coast Military Museum. The arrest was made at the Military Museum. And one witness said that they were dressed in SWAT-style gear with guns out And when asked about that, they were told that because it was a military museum, because there were potential for weapons involved, the police were not aware or were not sure of what they were getting into. So they came in full regalia there to arrest Jeffrey Cannon. After that fact, the following day, the police released the information because they did have information from the district attorney as to what the charges would be and how it would move forward from there. Jeffrey Cannon was then arraigned. He provided bail, and he was released with an ankle monitor and told not to have any communications with anyone under the age of 18 during his release time there. And as far as we know to this day, that he has abided by that regulation. This was interesting because the board members, and when we listened to the audio later, the board members were not convinced that this wasn't consensual. Some of the board members. The mother was definitely sure that this was not something that was legal.
Right.
But the board members were, saying, well, maybe this was, maybe this was the girl's fault.
And keep in mind, too, when you do hear this audio, not everyone in there are board members. There are some other people that are.
There's at least one member in this that is not a board member. Yep. His name is Patrick Ritter, and he is the one that makes this comment here. Give a listen.
I think your daughter could possibly, you have to think about this, she could be a promiscuous little slut and you don't know it. And I think you need to get a real handle on some of that. Okay?
Now, as you've heard, that is an extremely, inane, number one, it's an inane thing to say. I would even say it was stupid.
Yeah, that was not very
intelligent thing to say. When you look at the age difference between the two individuals, 11 years, and one is a minor, and when you think of the minor's brain, when you think of a teenage brain, we were both teenagers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, did you do stupid things when you were a teenager?
I do stupid things now, but nothing that stupid as this guy's done.
But I mean, did you want to be held accountable for the dumb things you did when you were at that age?
You're a child.
No.
You do childish things.
Yeah, your brain is not to that point where you're making decisions. And then there's this comment that was made, again, by Ritter, talking about how, it could have been the girl's fault because of the way she acted. Listen.
The other thing is,
that's what I'm saying.
Behavior prior to this incident is not pure.
My daughter was a 15-year-old virgin.
Children pulled up on a witness stand.
Please do.
About how your daughter lifted up her shirt.
Yes, please do. Please put my daughter on a witness stand.
As a young girl, like you're saying, so why this young girl would do something like that in front of people?
Who?
Jeffrey, your son, and your other daughter.
Now, he talks about the victim lifting her shirt, in front of other people. But, this is just hearsay. There's nothing, there's no proof of this. No. This is just one person. And again, Ritter is not a member of the board. He was the assistant to the director. So he was Jeffrey Cannon's assistant. And he was very adamant that this was likely the girl's issue.
No, when you're a minor in that situation, it's almost never the minor's fault. Even if she was promiscuous or anything like that, it would be, the onus of the adult to not take action,
to step away.
It's
to
just
do the right
simple.
thing.
Yeah.
But what happened is that we got this information. The radio station that I work at, that I partner at, we got this information. So we did a news story on that, and we named Ritter. We named Patrick Ritter in the story. We played his audio there, and the very next day he shows up at the radio station. He's got this. Wow. He's got this letter of how he's going to sue everybody. He took it to the police, and the police said, "Sorry, it's not a criminal matter. This isn't something we get involved in." So then he said, "Well, I'm taking it to the Oregon State Police. I'm taking it to the district attorney. I'm taking it to the Department of Justice." And my partner John Thompson was there And Patrick Ritter was talking to our office manager, right? Not to John. So he didn't see John standing there. He turned around and John was there, and John confronted him nicely, well behaved. And Ritter just got more belligerent and had a marker that he had brought in with him, and he threw the marker into John Thompson's chest.
Oh, man.
If you know my partner, John Thompson, this guy's huge, right? Larry, you're a big guy. John's even a little bit bigger, and he does not shy away from things. So it was pretty much a mistake. And John held his cool and listened to the guy, and finally the guy left. And before he left, John goes, "By the way, did you resign?" And Ritter says, "Yes, I resigned." So at that point, he had already resigned. He had already given up his assistant to the director position, But so that's what happened there.
That was behind the scenes. This is kind of new to me.
Yeah.
But.
So then there's another audio where they were talking about founded child abuse. Now, there can be evidence of child abuse without being a conviction. So founded child abuse is that the DHS or the Department of Justice, whoever performed the investigation, had evidence, whether it was admission by the victim or by the perpetrator, that yes, something did occur. So even though he's not been convicted, and again, we do believe in due process, even though Jeffrey has not been convicted, there is a legal term of founded child abuse that he can be terminated for and should have been terminated for. Yet, at the recording of this, he has not yet been terminated.
He is still on administrative leave. That's what we're understanding.
And the interesting thing is the pay scale for the director is $35,000 and some odd dollars. Their overall money in their coffers at current state is $37,000. So they have money to pay him on administrative leave, but pretty much nothing else.
Nothing else.
Now, the Oregon Coast Military Museum is in trouble. No doubt about that. The board members did not act swiftly enough. I mean, you're talking about, this is September.
Yeah.
This happened in June.
July, August. Yeah.
So 3 months.
3+ months.
Almost 3 months, exactly. That this has been going on, that nothing constructive has been done except for some recent resignations. It is causing more turmoil for the museum. The other day, on a Facebook post when the story was out, one of the ladies, and I can't remember her name right now, but she was saying that, trying to say the radio station was complicit because we had donated to the Oregon Coast Military Museum. And yeah, we did prior to knowing this information. And one of the big fundraising events that they have every year is coming up at Christmas time. It's called the Florence Festival of Trees.
Yep.
The Florence Festival of Trees is a huge fundraising for them, and it's in danger of not happening now because this is the time of year when they are planning for it, when they are getting trees for it, when they are getting nonprofits and individuals to donate and decorate for these trees. And in the middle of what's happening here, this is probably likely not going to happen for the Military Museum. And in addition to that, the Military Museum is now closed until further notice.
And that's terrible for the folks that, that's involved with the museum itself, because that's ultimately who's going to suffer. I mean, everybody's suffering. Don't get me wrong. There's the victim and the board, the museum itself. But if they can't do any fundraising, it's looking pretty dark for the museum.
It could mean the end of the museum. Yeah. And one in the audio you just heard a minute ago, I believe it was Patrick Ritter's voice. I can't say for sure, but when Tina Furkey said that this is gonna be the end of the museum, they're gonna close this down, and he's like, well, who's gonna close it down? What are they gonna come in here and they're gonna take everything out of here? you know, the community is going to say, you know, this isn't, you know, and not only does it hurt the museum, not only is the victim suffering because of all the things that's being said about her, this could eventually affect the reputation of Florence if this isn't brought to a satisfactory conclusion quickly.
Soon, yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah.
This needs to happen yesterday.
I mean, there's already people out there today that wanted to come back and get relics that they left from their family that were donated. You know, they're that angry. They want to pull things out of the museum, and you know that's history. You know, it's very bad.
And there's been several directors over the years. There've been several board presidents. The original board members, you know, have released a letter demanding the board, specifically Tina Furkey and Gary Cannon, to resign. Now, Tina's already resigned. Gary has not. And then they're asking the remaining board members to stand up and remove them, the ones who won't be removed or who refuse to leave. And these documents, we will have them included on our website. I'm getting a special page for documents and things like that, and the videos that we show, so you can see them at a separate time and look at the website, these2guys.com. So that'll be up there by the time this airs.
Another thing that was really shocking in that audio was the completely unrelated comments about what the mother had endured, you know, prior, and trying to relate the two, which was.
So a little bit on that background here. Back in the spring, Crow had an incident where they were some comments, some charges were made against them when the same woman, Tina Furkey, supposedly made an off-color comment or a comment that may have been misconstrued as sexual in nature. Now, again, that's supposedly. We do not have the exact comment that was made. But what happened was immediately Melanie Crow, the director and the head of that, contacted Otis, the Office of Training, Investigation and Safety, was called in. They're part of DHS. They were called in, and a phone call was made to them. They did a phone call investigation, found out what the comment was, found out what the situation was, and by the end of the call said there was no founded reason to continue this, that this was not an issue whatsoever. Yeah. So this was immediate. Now, even though it was immediate, Melanie Hurd asked their lawyer to find a private investigator that was independent of Crow, which is the Children's Repertory of Oregon Workshop. It's a child-based arts and entertainment kind of thing there. And they teach dance, they teach acting, they put on huge presentations for the community. So they brought in this special investigator to do this investigation. At the end of this investigation, which was weeks long, it was also determined that there was nothing there. So this gentleman who made the comment in the audio was trying to deflect from what was actually happening to try to put the onus on the mother, saying that the mother was a bad mother, basically. Right. I think is what he was trying to say, that, hey, if you're guilty of this, then obviously your daughter is following in your footsteps. Yeah. And that's just not right, and it's not fair, and it wasn't accurate at all. No. So
former board members did release a letter demanding for the resignation. 3 members, including the victim's mother, did, however, resign. Gary Cannon, the board president, and the father of the accused remains on the board, as well as 2 others.
Yeah, and William Rose and Daryl Haggard.
And Daryl Haggard.
And the other one that resigned, the one that I know of for sure, is Tabitha Pitts. She resigned as well, and one other board member. And we mentioned earlier that Patrick Ritter also resigned his position there. So they only asked for the 2 members to be removed, and that is because it's a conflict of interest.
Right, father
you've
and
got
son.
You've got Well, you've got the father of the victim, the father of the accused, the mother of the victim, both on the board.
Right.
There's historically nothing good comes out of that. That's one of those things where it's like, you got to recuse yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And then the son of the president is the accused.
Yeah. And he's still
on the board
on administrative leave. So Larry was able to get some conversations going today with some of the members that were there. Saturday, September 6th, which at the time we're doing this, it was this morning. In fact, it was a pretty stressful day for me.
Yeah.
It was a pretty stressful day.
Pretty
for me.
Eventful.
Let me tell you a little story of what happened here. So I was there to cover the story for Coast Radio and to be there as a support for the people that were there. Well, Paul Brickey, who is not a Florence resident and refused to say where he was from, and I don't know why. I guess he doesn't want people to go. But he's the one who coordinated all this, and he was very vocal in the fact that Coast Radio had not reported accurately the situation. And what he was saying was that we mentioned, or the Coast Radio news story mentioned, that the girl was 16 years old. And he was saying, no, she was 14 years old. And he was very adamant about that. She was 14. And because we didn't get the name right, he said we were at fault for propagating, and promoting the fact that it's not that big a deal.
The age.
That is farthest thing from the truth. The story that Coast Radio released said that she was a 16-year-old victim, which is based on the DA's information at the time of Jeffrey Cannon's arrest. So it had nothing to do with when the abuse started, but how old she is today with the arrest.
Because his age was also mentioned, his current age.
His current age was also
the age
mentioned.
of the incident.
Yeah. So what happens is that he gets very belligerent and he starts accusing one of the members of the staff at the radio station, Wayne Sharp, and Wayne doesn't like the term you. Wayne had his Coast Radio shirt on. I had my Coast Radio shirt on. When Paul started saying you, he was saying you as in Coast Radio. He was not specifically saying you, Wayne Sharp. Well, Wayne took that different. So it became a very explosive conversation there. And to be honest with you, I'm not saying anything against Paul, but Paul knows how to push buttons. Paul was pushing buttons. He was very in your face, why can't you do this? I can do it on my phone, talking about changing the story. Well, I held Wayne back because I know Wayne. I know Wayne very well. So I put my hand on his shoulder and I looked at Paul and I said, you need to talk to me because I'm the one who wrote the article. And so he started jumping on me, and you were there. You heard how he was being. He wasn't being very nice. All right. And I think I held my tongue pretty well.
Yeah.
I didn't jump. I didn't get overly excited. I just stated the fact that, hey, if there's a problem with the article, it was me that wrote it. So he's like, well, then you need to change it. So I started looking through my phone, started looking at it, and I couldn't do it on my phone like he wanted me to because our website needs a full page in order to get in there and do the changes. So I said, okay, I will fix this. I will make it right. Then I realized at some point after that he was wrong.
Right.
Because the victim was not 14 years old as he was trying to say it was. And he even had signs there at the thing that people were holding 15 years old. So,
yes,
he had signs there that had that age on it. And she was 15, according to the mother. Now, I have a statement from the mother that I'm going to read to you here because it's important that so from the mom, so you have it in my words and writing, grooming, kissing, hand-holding began back in August of 2024. Parenthetical, I said August of 2024 because that's when the district attorney said the abuse started. Sexual touch, oral penetration, intercourse began on her 16th birthday. Now, it doesn't matter how old she is. She's a minor.
It's a minor.
It was wrong. It was 100%, 1,000% improper
Right.
for that relationship to occur. Doesn't matter whether she wanted it. Doesn't matter whether she was in love with him or not. She's a minor.
She's a minor.
It's wrong. But that's the information from the mom. So needless to say, I'm not changing my story. I will write a new one and update it with the information that we have. But I'm not changing the story for Paul.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about when the abuse started. The story doesn't say the abuse started, certainly. It said that, she is a 16-year-old minor.
Right.
That's what it's saying now. And it started about a year and a month ago.
Yeah, I don't know if that the concern was the fact that some states, certain age of consent can go as young as 16. Maybe that's what
Alabama.
Yeah.
I looked it up today. Alabama, 16 years old, age of consent. And I think that's, maybe that was his thinking.
Maybe that's what the thinking was. I try to rationalize it myself, and I didn't. It's wrong. Even in Alabama, to me, it'd still be wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and I won't say who it is, but I have a friend of mine who is almost 60 years old now, who got married when she was 14.
Yeah.
And the guy was 7 years older. So, it's something that's happened in the past.
Right.
But in today's climate, it just doesn't fly. No. Doesn't fly. It's inappropriate. And, I've going back, let me go back to the story for Paul Bricky and Wayne. Wayne was like, the guy says to Wayne, well, I looked at your Facebook and Jeffrey's one of your friends. Jeffrey has 12 friends and you're one of them. And he's like, yeah, because I was a board member and he was an employee. And, and Wayne goes, well, how many friends do you have? And he goes, well, I've got 1,700 friends. And I wanted to stop right then and say, okay, of your 1,700 friends, how many of them do you condone all their actions?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I have friends on my Facebook page that I've never met because they wanted to be associated or wanted to follow me in what I was doing. That doesn't mean...
Go by association.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that I agree with everything they do,
And they did work together in certain aspects, right? So it wasn't like, they hung out and drank beer together and watched porno.
That's right.
Anything like that, right? They were watching... So, yeah, just because they're...
And again, just to be clear, we don't know that there was any porn involved. And is it all? That's just,
alleged porn watching.
Yeah.
No, we don't know. And it's they work together. They had a connection via
a work relationship.
A work relationship. Yeah. Which doesn't even mean they pass each other in the coffee room. Yeah. It doesn't mean anything.
Well, I will tell you, I have had conversations with Jeffrey. All right. Seemed to me like a really nice guy. I would not have thought that would have been the case. I never would have thought that we'd be talking about this today.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
And you don't know. I can't find any justification for it.
And there's people that will say, "Oh, no, you can know. People will know." And I don't necessarily subscribe to that interpretation of people's extrasensory perception. Is that I can look at that person and tell, yes, he's a pedophile. I mean, some people put off vibes, but it doesn't mean we're right. So,
right.
So for Wayne to work with this guy and look at him and just say, yeah, I think I can see, 2 years down the line, this is where we're going to be.
Well, and not that I am a human lie detector or anything, but I can sometimes pick out someone who's got something wrong, whether it's pedophilia or something else, but it's usually someone who's engaged in an ongoing, manipulative kind of pedophilia. Like, there's something wrong with that person. Something's not right with that person. And I don't know if Jeffrey's ever had another situation where he has been involved in a minor.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that this is his only time doing it. God would only hope that he's not, a serial pedophile. And, nobody else has come forward. So I don't think that's the case in this case here. But going back to, the Paul Bricky thing, he was very aggressive, knew what buttons to push, knew how to demand it. Now, we did calm everything down. Everybody shook hands. Everybody talked. I talked to Paul after that, and everything was calm. I talked to the other lady who was there. Like, every time Paul said something, she was, yeah. She was like getting into it. The reality of it is, and Paul is a very good person for doing what he's doing. He's a combat medic. He was 7 years as a combat medic. He's experienced some of this, what he is concerned about himself, he said. But he wasn't 100% right, all right? And I don't think anybody was 100% right, in their things. But as a news person, as someone who does news, all I take from my news stories is the information I'm given that's factual. Right. If the district attorney releases something, if the police release something, I take that as factual. Right. And that's what we report on. We don't make up dates. We don't make up names. We don't make up ages. It's not something we do. No. And so, to be accused of that, it gets your blood pressure up a little bit. But, when the day is done, you go back and say, I feel comfortable with what I did.
What I said, what I did.
What I said, what I wrote.
Yep.
Now, while we were at the rally today, we had an opportunity to talk to a couple of the folks. And one of the people that Larry spoke with was Paul Brickey. And here's what he had to say.
So the reason that I'm here today is what we're asking for is for the board of the Oregon Coast Military Museum to step down and fire Jeffrey Cannon, who has been indicted on 4 counts of sex abuse relating to a minor. The board's actions after this was uncovered were absolutely disgusting, engaging in victim blaming and slut shaming of the minor victim. And so that's why we're asking them to step down, because a lot of the citizens consider it an extreme breach of any kind of professional and moral ethical conduct.
Somebody else that wanted to share some information with us, and we have his video that he did at his home, is a man named Zach Burt. Zach Burt worked for the local newspaper here. His father was also one of the founding members of the board, and he really feels passionate about what should go on. So give a listen to what he had to say.
How do I feel about the situation at the Oregon Coast Military Museum? My grandfather, James Call, who passed in 2022 at 99 years old, was a proud World War II veteran, was in the Air Force, and he was, I believe, part of founding the museum and was a big part of it in its early years. And I'm sure he would be rolling over in his grave. It's disgusting. First off, let me say I'm somebody that is adamant about due process, and I still believe in that due process should play out. But the problem started when people, I don't even think they were board members, started talking about the victim in ways that are just, stuff what we thought we got rid of in the 1950s, It doesn't matter if in a situation where it's an adult and a minor, the minor, it doesn't matter what the minor does, and how it's been dealt with by the museum has been disgusting. By coincidence, I guess, the president of the board is also the father of the gentleman charged in this situation, and it doesn't seem the father has recused himself from the discussions about this or any of the board meetings. No statement, as far as I know, has been put out by the military museum. No official statement. They seem to be defending themselves via social media, via random representatives on social media. The Oregon Coast Military Museum is a pretty cool thing, and this doesn't look good for it. It doesn't give a good look to something that's pretty special here in Florence.
And we also had a few other folks that were at the rally today who wanted to speak on camera. Some did not give their name, which is fine, and they wanted to talk about what they were there for today and what they felt about what was going on. So here they are.
We're here protesting because we support victims. We don't support the abusers. And what we're asking is the entire board, not just several members, but the entire board, of the Sausla Military Museum to step down. What has happened is unconscionable. It's an atrocity to have a 15-year-old girl be assaulted and basically raped, groomed, and sexually assaulted, and now victim blaming of the 15-year-old instead of the abuser.
My name is Jacob, and I came out here from Eugene because this is such a clear-cut issue, first of all. It's about protecting children, protecting innocence, and protecting women before they even get a chance to be women. And compounded with the military connection with the museum, it's about honor. It's about being a man standing up for what men should be and all too often aren't.
I'm Grace, and I'm here at Oregon Coast Military Museum because child abuse is way too common, sadly. Like, I've experienced it. I know so many people who've experienced it, and it's just way too normalized. And I'm also an educator. I work for an ed tech company, and I really care about kids. We, as adults, we have to, it's our job, our responsibility to protect those who are vulnerable. And, you know, I love that the community has come out here today to make it clear that this is not acceptable, it's not normal, and it's not okay. And the people who think that it's okay really need to wake up and see what everyone else is saying and learn something and change your mind and, you know, do your job, do what's right, protect kids, end of story.
So those are a few of the excerpts of the interviews that were done there at the rally. If you want to see them all, you can go to these2guys.com and click on the episode page. You'll be able to see them there. This is, this is one of those things that it just hits a community hard, you know. And now, one of the hardest things is the young lady, the young girl who was involved in this. Her name is everywhere now. Yeah. All right, because it was just, you know, with the mother being on the board, so therefore the mother's name was known. It became aware of who the victim was. We will still not say the victim's name. I can only imagine how this is the first week of school. You know,
oh, yeah.
I can't imagine how her week has gone. I'm sure that people will understand, you know, what she's going through. But kids, on the other hand, can be pretty cruel.
And I don't know. I mean, coming from living in big cities, coming to Florence, this is a small town. I mean, this is a very small town. And
people know when you shit around here.
They do.
I mean, it is, you know, I mean, that's graphic, but, you know, you can't do much around here without something. That's why try to be above board with everything you do, because
it will circle back. It will. Not a question of if, it's when.
Yeah. So where we're at now with this is that, you know, we await the court date. I believe it's October 15th.
October 15th.
Yeah, and that we'll see more about that. I know there's more to the story than we're getting. I know I know Jeffrey's going to defend his actions. I'm pretty sure he is, or he'll fall on his sword and say, you know, mea culpa, you know, I'm guilty. I'm curious to see is how this will turn out as far as sentence if he's found guilty.
Yeah.
I don't see, again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I've never been in this situation before. But I don't know that this will be jail time for him. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. If it's a first offense or something like that, or if it's, you know.
Well, again, really I mean, it's a bad offense.
It's a bad offense. But
first or otherwise.
It depends on what they also find, you know, with his computers and things like that. Because I believe all that stuff was confiscated. The computers, this all this electronic devices.
Well, I know they found evidence of the relationship in that.
Right.
You know, and that's where the founded child abuse came from. I'm just wondering, you know, what the outcome would be. Yes, I can see him going to jail. I can. I mean, you know, because it is definitely illegal, immoral, whatever you want to say. But I just wonder, you know, there's a lot of things that could happen. There could be the young lady's testimony. she could plead for him.
Yes.
If that is something going on. Doesn't mean that he won't get jail time, but he might get less jail time because of it. I don't know. I don't know how that works out. If there's a lawyer out there watching this or a judge out there that's watching this, please comment. Let us know your thoughts on this, because it's one of those things where you never know what a jury or a judge is going to decide on that.
Some judges have a bleeding heart. They might somewhat side with not side with him, but maybe decide to give him a lesser
sentence.
Lesser sentence.
I mean, if this had been me, and again, like I said, I've never been involved in it. If this had been me, you'd never catch me doing it again.
No.
I mean, if you have emotional feelings, and I don't, wrong is wrong. Again, I'm not saying this is not wrong, but a man like Jeffrey, and I know him a little bit, if he had emotional feelings towards her, I don't think he looked at it. Even though it was child abuse, I don't think he looked at it like that. I wonder if he realized he was wrong. I hope he did.
That
he
is
does
a very
now.
good question. Yeah,
he does now for sure. But
that is a very good question. That's something I would like to see answered, because, like you said, some people, age is not even a thought. It's a consensual thing. She's doing this. He wants to do that, and there's no opposition. There's nothing. But like I said, still in the back of his mind, she's a child. She's 15. At some point that should have registered.
And again, if he was going by, what he thought might have been the age of consent, and that's why he waited till her 16th birthday, doesn't really matter in this state.
No.
No.
Again, even for me, Alabama, it still wouldn't matter.
Right.
And another weird thing, I think this is after you had left. There was one person actually drove by, which if you watch the videos of the actual protest, you'll hear a lot of horn honking. I mean, it was 100% support of the vehicles driving by, showing their support. We did get one guy that drove by, and he literally just threw out an "F you, you guys are effing assholes," and I just thought that was really strange. Like, I did not see that. I don't know where that came from or what that was in support of, but given this case and sensitivity and
do you know what the guy looked like?
It's a gold-colored SUV. I just know that.
Oh, was it? So it wasn't a van.
No.
Okay.
No, ponytail too, I believe.
Guy had a ponytail.
I believe he had a ponytail. Yeah. But I'm just like, and we were all like shocked. It's like, really, for standing up for a kid that has been abused, and your response is "F you, you're assholes." I'm like, wow.
So the youngest age of consent in any state is 16. Now, Georgia used to have 14 as an age of consent, but that was in the past. That has since changed. So, and there are several states with the age of 16, many of them in the South, just so you know. Not that matters.
Let that sink in.
Yeah, let that sink in. But, I'm concerned that this poor girl is going to get trashed everywhere.
Yeah.
She is not, now the good thing is that she's 16. She could overcome this in her life. Yeah. Jeffrey, on the other hand, no. He's going to have that moniker on wherever he lives, wherever he goes. He's going to register if he's found guilty as a child abuser.
Yeah.
So, unless some weird thing happens that he's not found not guilty,
I don't know.
I wonder if he'll plead guilty, and make a deal.
Plea deal would probably, if
get supervision instead of jail time, and have to go, before,
Now, at some point there was an announcement that was made that he was. I know they wanted him to resign, and there was the administrative leave. But there's also a stipulation where he could return to work, but he could not be around anybody who was under the age of 18. Did you hear that?
Yeah, they were talking about possibly reinstating him and just not allowing any children in the museum.
Which it's a museum. My grandkids came up to visit, and that was one of the things on our to-do list. And I think we went there and it was closed, and it might have been because of the situation, because I know that there were some days that the museum was closed. And this is not even knowing about the situation. So it's a museum. That's where you take your kids to learn.
Yeah.
So
you want the whole reason it's there is so that they can learn about, what our local veterans dealt with, what they went through in Korea and Vietnam, and now even more recently, in Iraq, Afghanistan. So that's why it's
it's very important.
It's very important. But I will say, some of the originators, some of the founding members, were very upset. And I even heard Wayne Sharp today say he would get back on the board to try to get this thing straightened out. And he had told me there was no way he was getting back on the board. But I think he definitely has a passion for this and would really, like to see it,
I think the town would love to see that museum stick around. I mean, it's,
I think it has to.
It has to.
It has to. It's a very important part of the history of Florence. I mean, there are so many displays there and so many wonderful things that were donated. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars of memorabilia from one family alone. We had a general here that passed away in town that his family gave a bunch of stuff there. And it's just unfathomable to think that would go away. So it's very important that this board does something quick.
Yeah. Or a new board.
Yeah. And we had a similar situation, not a similar situation, it had nothing to do with child abuse or sexual abuse. It had to do with animal abuse and financial abuse on the Oregon Coast Humane Society a few years back. The Department of Justice put a new board in. They put a temporary board in till they could get things straightened out. So that might be one of the things that's going to be upcoming then.
I mean, if it needs to, and it needs to happen fast, because, people are going to boycott. People are not going to go there, and it's just going to hurt the museum. It's going to hurt Florence. It's and by no action being taken at this time is eventually going to hurt the victim.
Yeah, definitely so. Heart goes out to the victim's family. I can't even imagine, what that must be like.
Yeah, I can imagine it's pretty difficult. It's being a father of two girls. I don't know. You'd be talking to me to probably do plexiglass right now. You'd be interviewing me on the other end of plexiglass. So
same thing. I remember one time, personal story. My daughter used to sneak out of the house in the middle of the night. She was, what was yours? She was probably 12 or 13, and she would hang out with her girlfriends, and they'd go down to the grocery store. This was in Nashville, Tennessee. Not the best place to be going somewhere at night. But so I came home one afternoon unannounced. Not that I was trying to find anything. I just came home, and as I'm coming up, there's a bicycle on the front porch. Like, my kid doesn't have a bicycle that looks like that. So I just had this weird sense that something was going on. So instead of going to the front door, I went around the side of the house. And sure enough, two boys were jacking out the back window, God. Heading over the fence, left the bicycle there. And I went in there, and I tell you what, that was the one and only time I yelled at my daughter and just lost it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you just don't understand the trouble you could be getting yourself into. Yep. And I made sure the boys knew about it too. Yeah. But anyway, comment, like, subscribe. We could use your help. If there's anything in here that, resonated with you, follow us. You can check out our website, these2guys.com. You can find the latest videos on there. You can also find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. You can find us on Amazon. We are on all these platforms here. We'd like to help have you subscribe. But YouTube is our one of choice. We'd like to get as many subscribers as we can on there.
Yep. And we plan to do a follow-up story on this probably after the court dates of October 15th. Yeah. So between now and then, if you have comments, if you want to hear something, or if you want to share your own story with us, you can even be in private. You go to our website, our email addresses are there. You want to share something, if you want to be anonymous and share a story, that's fine too. We'll look forward to hearing from you, and we will follow up on this story at a later show.
And again, this story was intense. So stay tuned after the closing credits here, because Larry and I are going to lighten it up a little bit, okay? All right. Hey, George Henry.
Larry Richardson.
These two guys, out.
Peace.
It's these two guys.
These two guys. It's these two guys.
Hey, thanks for staying all the way to the end there, Larry. That was intense for me.
That was very intense. I'm going to need a shower.
Yeah, and it was intense because, you know, we were in the throes of it at the rally, at the rally today.
Right.
We went there, and you know, it was just really intense. There's a lot of passionate people about that. So, you know, and we appreciate that. But what we want to do is let's see if I can stand up a little bit here and show you. All right. This is one of our T-shirts that you can get on our website at these2guys.com. And Larry's got something to show you.
Also a very nice, high-quality water bottle with these two guys' pictures on there, so you can drink from us when you get thirsty.
Yeah. Or, you know, I'm going to put coffee in mine. So, again, and you can order them right from our website, and they will come. Now, another thing that we have for you who like to shop, but you don't want to, you don't want to use the paper bags. You want to use reusable bags. These are available on there, and that shows our podcast information there: Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and Apple. So it's all on there, and does not have our website address on there. That's the one thing it doesn't have, but it's these2guys.com.
Take us shopping with you.
Yes, take us shopping. And then we got this is a hoodie. There we go. There's a hoodie. So you got a hoodie there. It's nice. You can get those on there as well. They come in all shapes and sizes. And we'd like to see you, support us by sporting us.
Supporting us. Wear us around town.
Sport us around town, wherever your town is. And if you have friends that live out of town that might be interested in this, hey, share it with them too. The faster we grow, the bigger we get, the less we have to do our other jobs.
That's true. No. And it'll give us more access to better stories too.
It will. It will do that. Yeah. So we'd like that. So again, thank you so much. Thanks to the people who, consented to the interviews there, and, just, hey, have a great day. These2guys.com, these two guys /GHR on YouTube. But if you just type in these two guys with the numeral 2, they'll show up on YouTube. So thanks so much, and see you next week.
Good day.
It's these two guys.
These two guys. It's these two guys.